session so that we can, yep, the Zoom person lets us know. So we're recording this session today so that we can post it to the website for any interested students that weren't able to make it today. So we will start off by welcoming you all and thanking you for attending the information session today for the 2024 Great Lakes Summer Fellows Program, which is offered through a partnership between the Cooperative Institute for Great Lakes Research, known as SIGLR, and the University of Michigan, at the University of Michigan, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA's Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory, which is known as GLERL. We are excited to tell you about the program today and explain about the application process, including a few tips to help you with a successful application. When we are finished presenting, we'll visit the SIGLR website together to show you where to find the information we are presenting and show you where to find the application form. We'll be sure to allow plenty of time at the end to answer your questions. We do ask that you hold questions to the end. If you enter them in the chat box or the Q&A box as we go, that's fine. You might find that your questions are answered, though, as we go along. Let's see here. There we go. So we'll begin with some quick introductions by the presenters, who are also your primary administrative contacts for the program. I am Mary Ogdahl, the Managing Director of SIGLR, and I oversee the program. I coordinate with the mentors and our hosts at NOAA GLERL, and I also maintain communication with the fellows throughout the program through bi-weekly one-on-one meetings. I'll now turn it over to my colleague, Margaret, and let her introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Margaret Throckmorton. I mainly do program logistics, but I'm the primary point of contact for questions regarding the application, as well as organizing activities, and mainly do the communications with everyone during the program, as well as before and after.
Great. Thank you very much, Margaret. And we'll be sharing today's presentation. So I'll be talking for a little bit, and then I'll pass it over to Margaret so she can present as well. So next, I'll give a little bit of a background on SIGLR and GLERL to give you a sense for where you'll be working if you join the program with us this summer. So SIGLR is one of 16 NOAA-funded cooperative institutes across the United States, which collectively represent 70 universities and research institutions across 28 states. Many of the cooperative institutes are co-located with NOAA research labs, just as SIGLR is with NOAA GLERL, and each have a unique research focus that's related to NOAA's mission and needs. The first Great Lakes Cooperative Institute was awarded to the University of Michigan in 1989, which began the now long-standing partnership between the University of Michigan and the NOAA Great Lakes Environmental Research Lab, or GLERL, which you'll hear me say many times, I think. As you can see on the map, we're located in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where it's very cold today, and we are right in the heart of the Great Lakes. So it's a perfect location to be conducting all of our research on our this precious resource. SIGLR has a home in 2 locations. Our administrative home at the University of Michigan is within the School for Environment and Sustainability, or SEAS, on the University of Michigan's main campus in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So you can see that on the left part of the slide. Our physical location and where we do our day-to-day work is at NOAA GLERL, where we are part of a blended scientific workforce. As a summer fellow, you will join a dynamic group of multidisciplinary researchers in a collaborative environment that is nearly evenly composed of academic and federal scientists. SIGLR's research falls within 4 main research themes that are complementary to NOAA's mission in the Great Lakes. Each of the research positions we have available fall into one or more of these research themes and directly contribute to ongoing research that's taking place at SIGLR and GLERL. So the themes are observing systems and advanced technology, invasive species and food web ecology, hydrometeorological and ecosystem forecasting, and protection and restoration of resources. SIGLR complements all of our great research and puts it into action through our ECO program. It is through this program that we connect our science to society and really make an impact for the good of the Great Lakes. The components of this program are engagement, where we work directly with stakeholders, resource managers, elected officials, and others to develop the tools and information they need to make informed decisions that protect and restore the Great Lakes. Career training is the C in ECO, and this is where we provide research training opportunities to students and postdocs who will become the future scientific stewards of the Great Lakes. And finally, the O stands for outreach, through which we communicate our research and educate the public about the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes Summer Fellows Program is one of the primary means by which we fulfill our career training mission within the ECO program. Although we do have other fellowship and training programs, this is the cornerstone for how we are building and training the next generation of NOAA and Great Lakes scientists. So now I will hand it over to Margaret to give you some details about the program itself. Margaret, you are.
Oh. Thank you. Yes, I lost my cursor for a second there. In the next few slides, I'm going to be going over some highlights about the program itself. So as a basic overview, we have been training students since 1998, and we've trained over 360 students. We are funded by NOAA GLERL. Our main program goals is to train the next generation of Great Lakes and NOAA scientists, as well as to increase diversity in STEM fields. This year, there are 10 fellowship positions. It's a 12-week program. It starts May 13th and ends August 2nd. And we do expect everyone to work, all of the fellows to work the equivalent of 40 hours a week during that period. This does include attending orientation on the 13th for all forms of the program, from virtual to in-person, as well as presenting their projects during the last week of the program. This last year, our virtual fellows did join us in person in Ann Arbor to present. We do get a lot of questions about the starting and ending of the program on a different schedule, but due to the nature of the program and the scheduled activities, we do not offer flexible start and end dates. However, we do understand that there are special circumstances, and we're welcome to have a conversation about any special needs you may have. Activities. So we do schedule a bunch of activities for the fellows. These are meant to build both your own skills and knowledge, as well as to build the cohort. We found that a large part of enriching the fellows' experience in the program comes from building community, both within the cohort and within the lab. Our activities that we usually schedule include career and professional development seminars, which cover topics such as applying to governmental positions, networking, resume and cover letters, as well as technical skill development. We did Python and R coding this past year. Additionally, you'll work with Sigler's communication specialist to build science communication skills. We also host weekly science seminars. In these, you'll learn more about the amazing science being done at GLERL and Sigler directly from our primary investigators. We also have social activities. In the past, this has included activities such as an escape room, kayaking, picnics, and more. We do take into account the preferences and abilities of the fellows when planning these activities. Additionally, fellows have traditionally organized their own camping trip over one weekend during the program. And this last year, fellows headed up north in Michigan and explored areas such as the Sleeping Bear Dunes. Traditionally, many of these activities, especially the social activities, are for in-person fellows, but we do try and plan visits for the virtual fellows and organize activities during those time periods. The professional, career, and science talks have been more easily adopted to the hybrid model for virtual attendees. The 10 positions that we're offering this year include options for different modes of participation, including fully remote, fully in-person, or a hybrid arrangement. Each project has different requirements for the format. As a note, some aren't eligible for fully remote due to field and lab work requirements. So please read the descriptions carefully to determine which projects have different requirements. Additionally, we encourage you to discuss your format preferences in the interview stage with your mentors so that everyone's on the same page. Upon acceptance to the program, we will reach out to all of the fellows to determine housing and transportation needs and provide assistance as needed. This will include providing resources to find housing, or if you need local transportation to and from work, we can assist with that. As a reminder, each fellow is responsible for securing and paying for their own housing, and housing costs were figured into the fellowship stipend. As a college town, Ann Arbor has ample summer sublet opportunities, and our fellows have traditionally been able to easily secure summer housing. We do encourage accepted fellows to go in together on housing to help with expenses and to build community. That is very important to us, and we will connect fellows before the program begins to coordinate shared housing if desired. So the stipend, it's $10,000 paid over 4 dates, which are listed here. The stipend starts before the program to provide support during the housing process. The stipend is meant to cover living expenses during the program, as I stated before. To receive the full stipend, you must participate in the full 12 weeks, working the 40 hours a week. Additionally, for those that are located outside of Southeast Michigan, you will receive up to $1,500 as a travel stipend. This travel stipend can be used towards expenses moving to and from Ann Arbor for those working with us in person, and virtual fellows can use the stipend to visit Ann Arbor and work in person with their project teams 1 or more times during the summer. Another big part of the program is the final presentation. It's a 15-minute presentation with time for questions and is required of each fellow at the end of the program and is held typically during the last week of the program. This will be mainly held in person at GLERL with an option for virtual attendance for audience members such as family and friends. We will adjust the presentation format depending on the makeup of the cohort, and you can view former fellows' presentations online on our alumni page, which we will show you later in the session. You can see this last year's 2023 presentations. I believe they're up now. Important is eligibility. So to be eligible for the program, you must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. This is if you are an in-person or virtual fellow. You have to be one of the following: a currently enrolled college level junior or senior as of fall 2024, a master's or PhD student, or if you can demonstrate in your cover letter that fellowship fits in with your career or academic goals, you can have graduated within the past 12 months of the fellowship. For example, May 2023 or after. As an important note, immediate relatives of any Sigler or NOAA GLERL employee are not eligible to participate due to NOAA guidelines. And I'm going to hand it back over to Mary.
All righty, thank you so much, Margaret. So in the next several slides, I will review the application process in detail. And there we go. All right, so in particular, I will go over the sections of the online application and discuss the documents you'll need to prepare and upload, which include a cover letter, resume, unofficial transcript, essay, and a letter of recommendation. The online application begins with 2 sections that collect general information about you. In addition to standard things like your name, address, and email, which are in section 1, section 2 asks demographic information on your gender identity, race or ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. These demographic questions are completely optional, but they are helpful for us to evaluate the effectiveness of our advertising and messaging for reaching a wide diversity of student applicants. We use this information to help us understand our success in meeting one of the program objectives that Margaret mentioned, which is to provide training opportunities to students from backgrounds traditionally underrepresented in STEM fields. In section 3 of the online application, you will be asked to select the projects in which you are interested. You may select up to 3 projects in ranked order from your first to third choice. Selecting more than one project is optional, but we do highly recommend that you select at least 2 projects that interest you to increase your chances of being selected for an interview. When choosing your projects that you're interested in, please review the position descriptions carefully, including the required skills and the mode of participation, if that's important to you, when making your project selections. You may contact the lead mentor, whose email address is included in the description of the project, with any questions that you have regarding the project activities or requirements as you're making these choices. In section 4 of the online application, you'll be asked to upload your application materials as a single document. So the documents you'll be preparing and combining, again, are a cover letter, a resume or CV, an unofficial transcript, an essay, and perhaps a letter of recommendation. So with regard to the letter of recommendation, you may either obtain the letter from your letter writer and include it in your application, or your letter writer may prefer to send us their letter directly. Either way is completely fine with us, but we do require that the letter reaches us either way by the application deadline. So when you're working with the person that's writing your letter, please make sure you give your recommender enough time and give them the February 9th deadline so that we make sure to have your complete application package in time. Letters that are sent directly to us can be delivered via email to Margaret, and her information is on the online application. You'll see it there, and we'll also make sure you have it as part of this presentation. But please be sure to provide Margaret's email address to the person writing your letter if they are choosing to send it to us directly. Another important point here to emphasize is the importance of uploading an unofficial copy of your transcript. If you only have a digital official copy of your transcript, you may want to print that or scan and photograph it to upload it. When we receive official transcripts, they are very often encrypted or password protected, and they're really difficult or sometimes impossible for us to work with. So if you could please help us out by making sure those are unofficial copies that we can manipulate as needed, we would greatly appreciate it. But for anybody, if we receive applications that have a corrupted file, we can't work with the transcript, or even if there's a document missing, because sometimes when combining these files, it's really easy to make a mistake, include the wrong file or miss one. We do reach back out to applicants because we want you all, we're on your side, and we want you to have the best application moving forward when it's going in for review. So we do reach out to make contacts, but it does save us some time and saves you some stress as well if you make sure that everything is in place and correct as you send it to us with your application. So when you're combining your files into one document, Adobe Acrobat is the easiest way to do this. If you don't have access to Adobe Acrobat, there are some third-party free websites that can help with this file combination. And there's a link in the FAQ section of our website with more information and some resources to help you do this. When we get to the online, the website demonstration, I'll show you where that is. Okay, so here we're going to give you some insider tips to help you prepare your application materials and increase your chances of a successful application. So with regard to your cover letters should be tailored to the project or projects that you are selecting and highlight your skills and experience that are relevant to those projects. So this is where really looking carefully at those requirements and thinking about what skills and experiences you could bring that match those that are listed is really important. Also in your cover letter, take some of the information. We recommend taking some of the information from your essay to explain what makes you a great and unique candidate for the position and the fellowship program in general. This might include why the fellowship would be meaningful to you, for example. Also, as Margaret explained, if you're an applicant who graduated in 2023 or after, so if you graduated last year, you should be explaining to us in your cover letter how the program fits with your career or academic goals. So with regard to your resume, very similar to your cover letter, your resume should be also tailored to the project or projects you selected and really highlighting those relevant skills and experiences that you have that are related to those that are required for the projects that you're interested in. And last, some tips for your essays. So when preparing your essay, it's a good idea to really spend some time thinking about what makes you a unique applicant. So that's the prompt that you're given, is what makes you a unique applicant and what are you bringing to the program. So with your essays, we're not necessarily looking for your major accomplishments, although those are great, you can tell us, but we're really interested in your experiences or your identities that have shaped you as a person, what's gotten you where you are today. These could be personal, they could be professional, they could be academic, but really, think about answering these questions. How would you add richness or diversity to the student cohort that's accepted? And what would the fellowship mean to you if you are accepted to the program? So thinking about these things can help you write an essay that really helps the mentors that are going to be reviewing your applications get to know you as a person and figure out if you're the applicant that they would like to interview and consider. So moving on to the last section of the application, here you will be asked to provide names and contact information for 2 references whom we may contact regarding your qualifications. These could be professors, mentors, supervisors, or really anybody that you feel would best represent you and your experience, your potential, and your aspirations. The only thing we do require is this cannot be a family member, although your mom or dad or brother or sister could say wonderful things about you. We ask that you do not ask them to be a reference. So one of the references that you do provide should be the person you asked to write the letter of recommendation, and then the other could, be anybody else. But one of the people should be the person writing your letter, just in case. We like to ask that just in case we need to contact them to follow up about their letter as well. Okay, so moving on from the application itself, next I'll talk a little bit about the process for application review and candidate selection. So once the application period is closed, mentor teams for each project are given the applications for everybody who selected their project as their first, second, or third choice. The mentor teams then review the applications and select a minimum of 3 applicants to interview for their project. There we go. So the mentors will reach out via email to you they'll reach out with an email to invite you to interview. So they're going to be reaching out to you on the email that you provide. So make sure that the email that you give us in your application is the email that you'll be checking regularly and looking for that invitation to interview. And then of last note, all of the interviews that we conduct for the program will be conducted by video conference. We don't do any in-person interviews for this program. So last, before we get into looking at the website, we have a few timeline points to highlight regarding the application and selection process. So applications and the letters of recommendation are all due to us on February 9th at 11:59 Eastern Time. After that point, the online application will be closed down and you will not be able to submit an application. So please make sure they get submitted on time. And I will note here, and I should have probably noted this on a slide previously, that if you need to make a change to your application before the deadline, feel free to just submit another application. We will disregard the first one. We'll always keep the most recent that was submitted. So if you realize you forgot to say something, you forgot to, you change your mind on your projects, anything, feel free to submit another application and we will dispose of the first one or any previous ones that you submitted. Sorry, that was a little bit of a side note, but one that I meant to include. So we expect that interviews will be conducted between February 9th and March 8th. You might want to make a note of that. This isn't really advertised on our website, but that's the time period we expect that mentors will be reaching out to invite you to interview, and interviews will be conducted in that time. Next, we expect that offers will be made to fellows for the positions between March 11th and March 15th. All applicants will be notified of their status by March 22nd. However, if you haven't heard from us by March 8th, it's fairly unlikely that you are going to be considered for a fellowship position. So I know a lot of you are probably applying to multiple opportunities over the summer. Again, you might want to make note of these dates. We have a lot of applicants to the program, so we aren't able to keep people informed of their status along the way. But these dates are kind of some milestones along the way that might help you discern where you are in the process. So I hope that is helpful to you. Okay, so we will move now into a little demonstration. I want to show you some things on the website. If I can, I've got an issue here. I might have to stop sharing. I thought I wasn't going to have to do this. Just so you know where to find everything and also access a lot of the information, most of the information we're giving you today is located on our website. So I'm going to make a switch here really quickly. And so if Margaret could please verify for me that I'm showing the correct, I've got a thumbs up. Okay. And Margaret, can you also verify that, are you able to see my cursor at all? Yes, wonderful. Okay. So this is the main landing page for the Summer Fellowship Program. If you go to the Sigler website, which is sigler.seas.umich.edu, you can also just Google Sigler and you'll find us. If you look under Join Us and Student Opportunities, it will land you right on this page here. So this has the information, it's kind of like I said, it's landing page for the program. You'll see the application deadline, February 9th. And if you visit this first bullet here for program description, eligibility, and how to apply, it has a lot of the information, especially that Margaret was giving about eligibility, the description of the program, stipend dates, also part of the application process information is there as well. There's a link here to the application form, this big Apply Now button. And you can also get to the position description page here. And this is very tricky. I've got a meeting recording button here. I'm not able to go back, so this is going to be interesting. Okay, so from here you can visit the position descriptions and you'll see all 10 projects that are available for you to apply to this summer. On the right-hand side, so you'll see the title of the project and the mentors with the lead mentor's email address here. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them. If you have a project-specific question, any program questions can come to Margaret or myself. On the right-hand side, there's a drop-down menu which describes the project, the research questions that the project will be seeking to answer over the 12-week period, some information about the activities that you'll be doing within that project, the skills required, the location. So most of the fellowships are at NOAA Glural. I believe there is one here that is on the University of Michigan main campus or at Glural. So you could be working a little bit of both, depending on what you and the mentor decide if that's the project that you choose. Also within the project dropdowns is the information on whether the position is eligible for remote work or not. So just so happens that project 1 is not eligible for a fully remote fellowship because it does require lab work. So the projects that include laboratory or field work in general are not suitable for a remote fellowship for obvious reasons. But within those projects, there is the possibility that you could work, have a hybrid arrangement where you're in the laboratory or out in the field in person some days a week, and perhaps you work at your home, your apartment, wherever you live in Ann Arbor, if you prefer that. And that's something that you can work out with the mentors during the interview stage or after you're accepted. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go. I just needed to hit OK. All right. So from here, as I showed you on the previous page, there is an Apply Now button. I will hit it here. There's in 2 different places. So here's where you click and it goes to a Google form that walks you through the different sections of the application. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the main page. A couple other things I wanted to point out. As I mentioned, we have a frequently asked questions. So here I just clicked on that FAQ icon. And we have the FAQs grouped into some different topics. So hopefully you can find what you're looking for easily. We never mind getting questions from you all about the program. So please don't hesitate to ask us. But if you want to know something right now, if you want a quicker answer, we've been collecting these questions from fellows over many years, and we try to capture just about everything that we're asked. Doesn't mean you don't have a unique question. If you do, please send it our way, and we'll probably end up adding it to this page. But very likely what you're wondering about is also included here. So please feel free to browse through here and try to find the answer to your question first. And again, you can always reach out to us if it's not here or if you need further clarification. And one thing I promised I would point out is about the file combination. So if you don't have Adobe Acrobat, so here under the application process, there's a question, how do I combine all the required files into a single document? And we do have a web page linked here that has a summary. It offers some different free options for doing this without using Adobe Acrobat. So give those a shot. If you're still having issues, please feel free to contact us because we can probably give you some help. Again, we are here to help you with your application and through the process. We absolutely want to help everybody get their best application put forward for consideration. Okay, and as Margaret mentioned, we also have another resource that might interest you as you are putting together application or even considering applying. And that is we have pages for all of the alumni for the past many years of the program. And so if I'm going to choose 2021, you can look at any year, but I'm picking 2021 specifically because I know that it has all the information that I want to show you. So you can see all of the fellows that participated here in the 2021 program. We just have a short description of their project. So you could probably make some inferences about projects that are similar to the ones that you're interested in based on those short titles. But 2 things you might want to think about checking out for the former fellows. We have links to their final presentations, so you can kind of see what those were like. Those might be especially helpful if you are accepted to the program and preparing your presentation. You can see what other fellows have presented in the past. We also, our communications specialist works with the fellows, and this kind of has a dual function. It's pretty cool. She works with the fellows to put together a feature video where they talk about their experience as a summer fellow, kind of what the program meant to them, what they got out of it, what they enjoyed the most. And those are really fun videos to watch. So the kind of dual purpose of them, one is it helps us show you all what the program is like. You get to hear from the fellows themselves. But the other thing that's really cool about it is in the process of creating the videos, these fellows are being coached in science communication. So it's actually part of our career development activities within the program that we offer is this hands-on, one-on-one work with our communication specialists to put forth this really nice science communication video product. So I really do encourage you to check those out. The reason I chose 2021 specifically is we had some issues with the links of the feature videos for the more recent years. So you won't see the videos linked for the 22 and 23 cohorts, but I still do encourage you to check out their pages. And I think you'll be able to see this. Are you able to see this, the Twitter feed here, Margaret? Okay. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to point out with regard to the former, the last year's cohort, the 2023 fellows, is if you go to the Sigler Twitter account, which is at Sigler_UM, you'll be able to find, and I'm not sure, Margaret might be able to help us figure out how you'd be able to find this exact feed, but she can also give you the link, I think, in the chat. But we have a really nice Twitter feed or Twitter thread, I think it's called here, that has some video highlights of the cohort from last year. So you can see Tate, one of our fellows last year, and Tate's actually coming to join us as an employee here in just a couple of weeks, which we're super excited about. So I'm glad to see her face here. Reminder to let you all know that. But anyway, you might want to check that out. Just gives you more of a feel for the program, what it's like, and might help you picture yourself with us too. So hopefully it can generate some excitement for you. But I think that's all I needed to show you on the website, or wanted to show you on the website. So I will now pull.
I will say, Aubrey did catch me before this session and told me that the 2023 videos are up. So,
oh, wonderful. Thank you,
Yes.
Margaret. So yes, you will be able to find those now on those alumni page. So Margaret, can you see the question slide now? Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay. So at this point, we would be happy to take questions from you all. If you would like to, seems like we already have some populated in the chat, so we will just go through these. We've got plenty of time, so hopefully we'll be able to get through them all. And I will suggest too, if you'd like, as we are answering questions, to make note of our email addresses. You can also easily find us on the Sigler website as well, if you want to follow up with us later. Okay, so Margaret, I don't think everybody can see the answers or questions. So should we be reading these aloud, Margaret?
Yes, I think that would probably be best. So Patrick has a question. It looks like he has some commitment already in June, July. Wants to know if because work hours are going to be erratic, will he be able to make up work later?
Yep. Okay, so I can take this question for you, Patrick. Thanks for asking. And we understand, like Margaret said, there are a lot of varying circumstances. You know, we know that you all are busy people. You're involved in a lot of things, which is great. This is definitely the kind of thing that can typically be worked around. But it's something that we ask that you discuss with the mentors it's best to talk about these things during the interview. If you're invited to the interview, to let them know you have another commitment and kind of what kind of flexibilities you would need. And then you can have that discussion. But in general, what you've described of having to have sort of altered hours, that typically works out perfectly fine. The only time we might have, I wouldn't even say issues, the only time we might have to give it a little more consideration is if we have, if your project would involve scheduled lab or field work that is inflexible, but that typically isn't the case, or we can also work around it and make accommodations. So I wouldn't be too worried about that, Patrick. It's just something to have a discussion about. Okay, so Adrienne next has a question. Do students transferring to a four-year program from community college qualify? Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, transferring to a four-year program from community college. So I think if you would be considered, and if you're transferring into a four-year program, you would basically be the equivalent of an incoming junior, I'm thinking, if you are completing 2 years of community college. Margaret, I'm going to let you answer this question.
So it will depend. I know that sometimes when you're transferring in, you might not have enough credits to qualify as a junior in the program you're transferring to. So what you really need to know is if you're going to qualify as a junior or senior into the program that you're transferring into. So it can depend. I know I've worked with students in the past who have transferred in as a sophomore, and in that case, you wouldn't be eligible. But if you are transferring in and are qualifying as a junior or senior, then yes. I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate your help. Okay, and if anybody asking questions has a follow-up, please feel free. If we don't answer your question, well, please follow up in the Q&A and we will get back to you. Okay, another question from an anonymous attendee is if we would like if we need a week off during the fellowship for a family event, are we still eligible for this position? Absolutely, we have that happen very often. We still do require that you work the equivalent, this is why we say it this way, the equivalent of 40 hours a week for 12 weeks. So if you can work out with your mentor how that time will be made up over the course of the fellowship, then it's absolutely fine. Again, this is a conversation to have with the mentor team during the interview process, just to let them know you have this planned. That's very common. And I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the slides, but there are two paid, Margaret, you might have mentioned this, that we do have 2 paid holiday days. So July 4th is a paid day off, so you're not expected to work on that holiday. And also Memorial Day, which I think might be May 27th this year. I can't remember for sure, but it's around that time. But Memorial Day and July 4th would be paid days off. So you're not expected to work those days. Okay, so Molly is asking, is there flexibility for professional conference overlap? So SFS June 2 to 6, again, really the same answer that I gave about the vacation. And there is a decent chance that your mentors might also be attending. We do definitely encourage when there are opportunities for students to go to conferences. We do encourage that. So it could very well count toward your fellowship time, depending on what kinds of things you're doing at the conference. You might actually choose to do a poster about your fellowship at the conference, for example, but maybe you're presenting on some of your student research, and that's fine too. But again, we do have that flexibility. If it's determined that your time away at the conference does not count toward your fellowship time, again, you would just need to work out a system and a plan to make up that time, which could be, working some longer hours, for example. So usually we're really easily able to work those things out. Okay, another question is from an anonymous attendee is if there is a preferred title format for the compiled file. I believe that information is on the online application form. And I think Margaret might be able to correct me. I think it's last name _ first name.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but it's there on the form. And that is something we could probably add to the FAQ so that you don't have to wait to do that till you get to the part where you have to upload it. So thank you for that question. Okay. Okay, so Madison, I'm reading your question here now about your post-bac program, which is non-terminal as an entry point to a graduate program this spring or fall or spring. I've already gotten an undergraduate degree, but it was completed in 2016. Are you eligible? Yes, you are eligible. So if you are enrolled, if you are planning to, sounds like you're in a program now, and this is entry into graduate program, yes, we would consider you eligible. So thanks for that question. Okay. Okay. So another question about from anonymous person about a field course that's planned for out of state at the end of July to mid-August will be, or end of July to mid-August will be in Ann Arbor on other dates. Yeah, I think that is definitely something that's a bit of an extended period, but I would definitely still encourage you to apply. If you're invited to the interview, discuss it with the mentors. It's something that there's potential we could work around it, but again, it sounds like that's about, a 3-week period, maybe a little more. So that might be difficult for you to get in the full 12 weeks within within the May 13th to August 2nd timeline. But it sounds like actually it wouldn't be 3 weeks because it would overlap with the end. So yeah, I think it's just something to discuss. But again, I would still encourage you to apply and have that conversation. Okay, next question. Okay, so this question is from an attendee who's been majoring in environmental science for about a year and recently transferred schools to further pursue the study. Due to this, they don't have much experience in professional work and have limited contacts to list as a reference or to write a letter of recommendation. How heavily are these factors weighed into the application? I think that probably varies from mentor to mentor, but I will say that we have had fellows accepted to the program that they didn't have a letter of recommendation. So we regardless of if an application package is complete, we pass it along to the mentors to let them review it. So if something's missing, they still review it. And I will say we have had fellows that were accepted that didn't have a letter of recommendation because it wasn't because they didn't, I think the person writing the letter just failed to send it, unfortunately, and that happens. And we don't penalize students for that, certainly. So I really can't say how heavily it's weighed, but I would say that I do still encourage you to apply. We would not count that against you that you are in this transition period. And hopefully you'd be able to find somebody, perhaps it's from, does not have to be an academic or from a job. You're the person that's writing the letter. It could be an organization that you're involved in, or some other kind of community group, a religious group, something like that. It's somebody that can speak about you and kind of who you are, your aspirations, your character. That's really all we need. So I hope that helps. Okay, so the next question is from a person whose graduation falls on the weekend after the program start date. Let's see, oh boy, where did my questions go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Would I be able to join in person later for an in-person only project? Yeah, again, we have flexibility. So that's a discussion to have with your mentors. I think a week is something that we've experienced many times where we have people that, there's kind of an overlap with their semester ending. And we've been able to work that out really successfully. We would need to have a conversation about orientation. We do like everybody to be present for orientation. Last year, our orientation was all in person. So even our virtual fellows, we had them come to Ann Arbor for the day. I think it was 2 days that they came for orientation, which is great because they got to meet their mentors in person and meet the other fellows in person, which is a really great experience. But we haven't decided fully yet if orientation will have a virtual option this year or not. I think it will probably depend on the makeup of the cohort and who's virtual and who's not and what limitations they may have. So yeah, we're pretty flexible within some limits. So I think that would probably be okay. Okay, so the last question so far in the chat is, would you say that students doing the remote option get as much out of the experience as in-person students do? I love this question. Thank you for asking. So I will say we never stopped the program during COVID. I don't think we had, I was going to say I didn't think we had remote fellows before COVID, but we did have a couple because we had some that were working at different NOAA locations, and we had them participating with us in Ann Arbor remotely. But obviously during COVID, we did the program 2 years, or was it 3, fully remote. And we felt really good about it. And we got really good feedback from all the fellows that participated remotely. We work at Glural and Sigler in a very hybrid environment anyway. So it's very often, almost all of our meetings are hybrid because people are working in the office some days and at home some days. Like I'm in my home today, Margaret's in the office today. So in terms of interactions and completing your project, I won't say there's no difference. I think that you will still get a lot out of it if you're a remote fellow. I think the things that you miss out on when you're remote are some of the other interactions. So say, a lot of the fellows will eat lunch together. There's a nice lunch room at Glural with tables, and there's outside picnic tables, and they tend to eat lunch together. And they will also join, some of the other researchers in the laboratory will join. So some of that interaction outside of the project gets missed, I think, for remote fellows. Last year, I had quite a few conversations with one of our remote fellows about this very topic. And, I think he felt very supported and very included in the program. He did get lonely, I think, time to time, because he was doing a lot of, computer modeling work, and kind of felt a little bit isolated. And for some people, I think that would work great. And for other personalities, that might not work as well. So I think that's kind of a personal thing that you need to think about. I will say all of our career development, professional development type activities that we do, we always have the option to join remotely. But there are some things like the camping trip that Margaret mentioned and some of the other social activities that you would miss out on. So I know that's kind of a long answer, but I think it's something that if you have the option for the project you're working on, and if you live far from Ann Arbor and it would be a challenge to get here, I think these are all things to talk about or think about. And I would be happy also, if you're contemplating this, to talk more one-on-one if you're accepted to the program and really having a hard time deciding on how you want to participate. I'd be happy to have a conversation about that too. Margaret, do you have anything to add to that from our experiences last year?
I know you're talking about the remote fellow, and I had a conversation with him too, and he actually came the last week of the fellowship and worked here in person. He said it was a completely different experience. He really enjoyed having that time. So I know that he did, of course, get a lot out of the fellowship, but there was that in-person interaction that was really important to him as well. So
yeah.
Oh, we got some more questions.
Yep. Okay, so another question. Thank you, Megan. For remote or hybrid work, will computers be provided to group participants? So typically so if you're remote, if you're not coming to Ann Arbor, typically we don't. But if there is a need for a computer, if you don't have a computer that you can use, we will work with you to figure it out. We have provided computers to remote fellows in the past. So that's definitely not, there's no barrier there. So there's no requirement that you have a personal computer that you can use. Really, one of our main goals for you is for us to remove obstacles and remove barriers to participation. So we will work these things out. So if it's transportation, if it's computer, whatever, talk to us and we will help find solutions so that you can participate in the program. I thought I saw one more.
I've been answering some of them via text.
Oh, okay.
So if
perfect.
They're disappearing, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, it was on pets. I was happy to, I was gonna be all happy talking about pets.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I mentioned that one of our fellows last year did
Yeah.
bring a cat with her, so it is a possibility. So
Yes, yeah. And that again is going to be specific to the sublets and the leases. I guess not sublets at least, but anyway, it'll be specific to the sublet and their preferences. So okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. If there are any other questions, we'd be very happy to answer them.
while I was typing, did you answer the question about the computers for remote or hybrid work? Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Thanks. Thanks for checking.
I was so focused on talking about the cat. Great. Well, I mean, if you think of any questions later, once again, our emails are on the screen. So feel free to reach out to one or both of us. I'm always able to help. Mary's inbox is a little bit more crowded than mine. So feel free to copy both of us and we'll see what, we can do. I might have to chat with Mary a little bit about an answer if it's a little difficult for me, but oh, we do have one more question in here.
Yeah, so we've got a question about, are there any non-summer internships and jobs? And yeah, so from time to time, we do have some student jobs that are open. We typically have more opportunities for full-time work, but any job openings that we have, whether it's a student position, a temporary position, which aren't as common for us to advertise, but any permanent positions will be advertised on our website and on our social media. I think we only have a couple of postdoc positions that are open currently, but if you are interested in other positions, as you mentioned, I do encourage you to keep an eye out on our social media and our website because yes, we do have other opportunities from time to time. Okay, and with that, I want to thank you all so much for your interest in the program and for attending our information session today. I hope that you found it helpful and worthwhile, and we really look forward to receiving your applications and wish you all well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.